Welcome, my wonderful listeners. Gather round, dreamers and seekers. Let's weave a tapestry of life, myth, mystery, and the unknown. Pull up a chair, settle in, and prepare to be enlightened and enchanted. Welcome to Coven of Curiosities. So, for this episode, I have my fellow rebel, my dear friend Jerry. He is going to be co hosting with me today. He also has his own show. Actually, it's on TikTok. It's called The Strange and Unexplained Phenomena of the South Mountains of North Carolina. And he also has his own YouTube channel called Rebels Dark Tales of Appalachia. Hey, Jerry, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited for this episode because I've been dying to actually have a conversation with our guest, because I've watched some of his episodes and it's quite interesting. I love to see his interaction with the guests that he has on, and he has a pretty cool guest. So would you like to introduce our guest today?
Absolutely. We are most fortunate to have Patrick Perry on with us today. And Patrick is a passionate explorer with a deep love for travel, the great outdoors, and the thrill of discovery. As a devoted husband and seasoned camper, he finds solace in nature and excitement in uncovering the world's mysteries. His insatiable curiosity for the unknown led him to create Crypted Quest Podcast, a captivating podcast that takes listeners on thrilling journeys into the shadowy world of cryptids. Through expert interviews, engaging storytelling, and in-depth discussions, Patrick delves into legends, sightings, and folklore surrounding elusive creatures, focusing on Bigfoot and other cryptids. Whether hiking through dense forest or engaging with fellow enthusiasts, he is dedicated to exploring the stories that spark wonder and curiosity and an exhilarating adventure into the unknown, where myths come alive and the search for truth never ends.
Welcome, Patrick.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. So, Jerry, did you want to start with a question first and see where we can go from there?
Sure.
Okay.
Patrick, where are you from, my friend?
I live down here in the Ozarks, not far from the Arkansas border. Right now, I'm actually in Arkansas. I did an interview with Todd Neese today, so I'm at his place. We did it in person, but from the Ozarks in southwest Missouri, where I'm at.
Nice. That sounds amazing. So you're originally from Missouri, though. That's where you were born and raised?
Correct. Yeah, originally from the St. Louis area, but about 7 years ago, I moved down here, Table Rock Lake, here in the Ozarks.
Awesome. And what is it like down there? What is it that brought you to Missouri? What is it that you love?
Oh,
that
I just
area?
love the nature, the woods, the hills. Down here in the Ozarks, I know they call it the Ozark Mountains, but they're not really mountains. They're just a lot of hills, a lot of water, a lot of waterways. Love the nature. There's just so much nature out here. And the views are amazing, amazing.
Really?
Yeah, and everything about it, everything about the woods and nature, I dig.
Nice. That's so cool. That show, The Ozarks, I think is what it was, with Jason Bateman. Is it anything
Yeah,
like
Ozark.
Yeah, Ozark. Is it anything like that? I know that's a particular area, obviously, but the beauty, because there were parts of that show that was beautiful.
Yeah, it's just as far as like the background scenery and stuff. Yeah, it's a lot like that, especially when you're on the big lakes. The rivers and creeks have a little bit, I guess it's about the same. You get a lot of high bluffs, a lot of woods, but just beautiful.
Nice.
Very nice. It's an
So
area. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jerry.
How far are you from the promised land that we call Boggy Creek in Falk, Arkansas?
South Arkansas is about 3-4 hours away from where I'm located. So actually, from where I'm at today, it's probably only like a couple hours away.
Nice.
I've been to Arkansas.
What's that now?
I went to Arkansas. I've been there. I can't remember the city off the top of my head, but I know I got a hoodie that says Arkansas on it when I was there. We have some friends out there, and I had a good time. It was
Yeah.
the parts that we were able to see were very pretty. Our friends' parents they actually live on a lake, and you just walk down the hill that they have, and you get on their what's that boat called? Where it's not a fishing boat. It's
Pontoon boat.
yeah. So we get on that, and her dad, my friend's dad, took us on a ride and fishing and stuff like that. It was great. It was great being out in that kind of area and having that nature instead of the California air. Yeah.
Definitely a lot of nature out here to soak up.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I could actually be out in the woods. I'd rather be in the woods than in the city. I'm not in the city, on the outskirts, but still, I'd much rather be in the woods.
Yeah.
It's where I would love to be. So, have you had any experiences at all with any type of cryptid, whether a Bigfoot, dogman, anything? Have you had your own?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That's
Okay.
actually what got me on my journey to
Oh.
start wanting to talk to people. It happened, what year was it? 2016. I remember the date, the time. It was October 13th, 2016. I was on my sister's property. I was laid off as a union carpenter at the time. And this was when I still lived up closer to St. Louis. And I was about an hour and a half southwest of where the actual city of St. Louis is. And her property was on the Merrimack River. When I was doing some deer hunting, because deer season bow opens here in Missouri in early October, I was scouting and I was seeing deer every day, and I had my blind set up in a field which was surrounded on two sides. My tent was, or my blind,
Yeah.
by wolves. And so I noticed at one point I wasn't seeing any deer
Okay.
in about 2 or 3 days, like they just disappeared, which I thought was really weird.
Yeah.
I thought possibly the bucks might have went into an early rut, and maybe they were chasing the does around so much that they were just staying out at night, not coming out during the day anymore. So I asked my sister if she minded if I stayed in the blind overnight just to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And get my bearings. And so the first part of that day, I went down to a cave on the Merrimack that I used to like to go mess around in and explore. And it was just a really cool cave. Beautiful wall, beautiful scenery, because sit in front of this cave, it overlooked the river. And so when I got done doing that, I walked up to my blind and I got settled in for the evening hunt. And I got set in there, and I only had a hole about the size of maybe an avocado.
Yeah.
Looked out into the field. Everything else I was surrounded. And I had a little chair in there. I had my crossbow, couple arrows, blanket, because I was planning on staying in there all night.
Yeah.
And I had noticed, but it didn't really hit me real hard, but it was very quiet, very quiet. Like I wasn't hearing birds. I wasn't hearing crickets. It didn't really strike me as anything at first.
Yeah.
And I did my evening hunt, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Got cuddled up in my chair, threw my blanket on, and I think it was probably like 8, 9 o'clock. I think I dozed off,
Yeah.
and I still full. This is where it got scary for me. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I still remember I picked up my phone and I looked at it, and I think it was 2 o'clock on the dot. I got awakened by a sound. And I've been hunting these woods since I was 8 years old. So I pretty much heard and seen everything that was out there, I thought.
Yeah.
I usually spend the entire evening out in the woods.
Yeah.
So besides maybe camping, and when I camped, it was usually down in a clubhouse. I wasn't just sitting out in the middle of a field. But I heard what the first thought that came to my mind was sounding like a silverback gorilla. And I remember it woke me up, and I'm dazed because I just woke up. I remember I had drool going down my chin when I woke up.
That's when you know you're sleeping really good, is when you have the drool. Sorry, go ahead.
And then I'm awakened by this sound, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And it sounded like, sounded like a damn gorilla out there.
Yeah.
And I could hear it breaking branches. I could hear it moving around I could hear the leaves or whatever, the forest vegetation. And it was right behind my blind. And I could feel, it was so loud that I could feel it inside of my body.
Yeah.
No, but I'm thinking, did a gorilla escape from the zoo, or what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And, while I'm still trying to figure it out, I can hear it moving, and went from like behind my blind to the right, and it's staying in the wood line, and then it starts heading, like towards the front of my blind would be, but it's in the wood line still. I can hear it moving in the woods. Then it starts like howling, and so loud. And I'm like, oh, just super loud.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where I'm hunting at, there's houses probably within like a half mile of this field.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it's loud. I'm like, this has got to be waking people up. So I'm expecting like a cop car or something to be coming down the road and through the field and shining lights to figure out what this is. It was so loud. And it did that for a little while. And when I say a little while, I'm talking it probably 5, 10, 15 seconds. And then it would stop. It stopped doing that. And I could hear it coming back. And I started getting scared because now it's heading towards me again.
Yeah.
And it goes behind my blind again. And I can hear it moving and walking. Then it's doing what I call, to me at the time, I called it demonic chatter, is what it seemed to me. Because it was going, well, I think they call it samurai chatter, but it was going.
Jerry, sorry to interrupt, Patrick. Jerry, didn't you mention that when we were recording your episode? You were talking about you wanted to hear their gibberish, their talking, and you mentioned something to the effect that it's sounded like that type that you heard, Patrick. That's what I've been hearing, is that people, when they talk their gibberish, it sounds foreign. And yeah, that's so cool. So what were you thinking at that time when you were hearing?
Well, hey, I didn't think it was so cool. Because I distinctly remember I sat up in my chair. I was holding my crossbow like against my chest.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that little hole into the field, and the moon was very bright that night.
Yeah.
Really, so it looked like a light on the field. And it was lit up. And it started making that chatter noise, and it didn't sound happy. It sounded quite pissed off the whole time, everything did. I honestly, I was concentrating on not breathing because I didn't want it to find me.
Yeah.
I was literally like taking as slow a breaths as I could because I didn't want it to find me. Now I know it knew I was there.
Yeah.
It knew at that point in time, God, I was still safe. But it started actually, I was praying. I was saying Hail Marys in my head.
Yeah.
Scared. And I was praying that I didn't have to see it. Because everybody's, why didn't you look and see what it was? It was right behind you, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you record it? I'm like, I thought I was going to die. I didn't want to see it. I did not. The noises and sound from hearing had me scared. Shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't want it because I was afraid that if I saw it, that I was going to have to make a decision. I was either going to have to shooting an arrow at it, which I didn't think an arrow was going to do anything.
Yeah.
Just because as loud as I knew it had to be huge. So I just kind of sat there just praying and not breathing. And it eventually went back down the wood line and started heading towards the river. And
Okay.
as it got far enough away, I wasn't hearing it anymore. I done decided I am not leaving that blind until there's daylight. There's nothing would have got me out of that blind.
Yeah.
So I eventually fell asleep. And then everybody's, how could you fall back asleep if you were that scared? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it was the adrenaline rush and then the crash afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I was super hyped up and scared.
Yeah.
But I did fall back asleep. I remember it was around 4 a.m. that I heard howl again, but it was further away. I could tell it was closer to the river and it wasn't near me. So it woke me up. It was still loud enough that it woke me up and I heard it. And I was like, oh, thank goodness it's moving away from me now. So that made me feel better, even though I was still scared.
Yeah.
And I kept on listening and I heard it do it a few times and then it stopped. And then I fell back asleep again. And my alarm on my phone, I had it set to get up for the morning hunt. And I remember when my alarm went off and woke me up, I was still so scared. And I wasn't thinking rationally.
Yeah.
I grabbed my phone and rather than just silencing the alarm, I literally took the back off the phone and ripped the battery out of it as quick as I could.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I was going to hear my alarm and come get me. Yeah, that's right there.
Wow.
And actually, a couple more, like it was almost a year after that. When I went and I told my sister about it, and then she was like, "Oh, I've been hearing those sounds out here for years,
Wow.
and you never told me."
Wow.
That's nice to know before I went spent the night in the woods. But okay, so it was about a year later. I was dating a girl at the time. This was before. This is not my wife now, but I was dating a girl at the time, and she didn't believe me when I told her about what happened. And it was about a year later, almost to the day, because it was October. I still remember. She would go down to that cave with me occasionally, and we had two separate occurrences within a week because she, like I said, we'd go down to the cave and stuff. And one day we went down and we're headed back to the vehicle and we hear, it is right about dusk. We hear, whoa, from one direction. Then we
Really?
hear, yeah, it's like the Ohio.
Huh.
And my actually caught a recording of it. She actually got it one day. And it's pretty cool recording.
Yeah.
But I heard one, then I heard another, and then I heard another. 4 total we heard. And they were in different directions. And I could tell they were all, they all sounded different.
Okay.
All had their own sound. And she looked at me, what is that? And I'm like, and I don't think it's, I don't think it's these calls. I do know that they can get out of here. So we jetted. And I don't even think it might have been a few days later, we went down to the cave again. And like I said, there's a nice view of the river and stuff out front. Me and her sitting on a rock, just looking at the water. And we're up like on a bluff is where the cave is. And then it drops down to the river. And then on the other side of the river is kind of like fields and woods.
Yeah.
And sitting there and it's getting about dusk. And I hear what sounded like the gorilla again. I hear, whoa. But it's on the other side of the river. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And her eyes got about as big as saucers. And she looked at me and she said, oh my God, that does sound like a monkey. And I motioned to her to be quiet. And I don't know what made me do this. It was probably stupid, but I got up and I walked down the pathway a little bit, found me a big log, because I'm trying to think of something to make this thing go away. And I don't know what in my head made me think this would work, but it's what I
Yeah.
did. I grabbed a log and I smacked the tree as hard as I could. It echoed through the valley, and I saw birds like fly off when I did it. And then I walked back to her, and I didn't hear this, but she said when I did that, said she could hear it run up the hill through the leaves, and she said it sounded like a scared chimpanzee. She said it was making, and how she described it, going whoop, as it went back up. So
That's interesting.
we heard it once again, but that in a nutshell is what got my ball rolling. So there you go. But I'm hanging out with all the right people at this point in my life, so I think that's gonna happen.
Nice. That's good. No, that's awesome. Jerry, do you have any questions for Patrick with regarding his story?
Sure. First of all, Patrick, what county was that in there in Missouri?
Franklin County.
Franklin County. Okay. Yeah. You definitely live in a state that is a hot spot.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's the
They say the
Squatcher's.
Merrimack's a real hot spot. I remember I was talking to Matt Moneymaker at a convention, and I had mentioned to him briefly that I had an encounter on the Merrimack, and he knew about the Merrimack. He goes, "Oh, that's a hot spot. There's actual 5 BFRO recorded sightings, visuals within, I think, a 5-mile stretch of where I had my experience."
Wow.
Have you had the opportunity ever at night to see any eye shine?
No, but interesting you just brought that up, because like I said, I just did an interview with Todd Neese, and he was talking about he went to a Indian reservation up in Nebraska, and the elders were able to call, and he said he wouldn't have believed it if he didn't see it with his own eyes. But he said the elders were able to call the Bigfoot to come out. And he said he actually was seeing the eye shine show up. And I asked him what color it was. And he said, you could almost tell when they're looking directly at you because it was kind of white. But he said, but if they changed what direction they were looking, that it would change. It would go from like yellow, orange to red. So, and he said and he said at one point, he said they did this 5 nights in a row and they were able to call him in. He said he couldn't believe it. So one night, the last night he was there, he tried to walk up on a set of the eyes. He said he got within 30 feet of it. Then all of a sudden, the eyes stood up, turned, and walked away.
Really? Wow. It just walked away instead of making noise or doing their whoops.
Yeah. He said it was completely silent too when it walked away.
Wow. That's so interesting.
So I thought,
So I think when you were telling your story, I was sitting there picturing in my head, and I'd be thinking, doing the same thing, probably don't breathe, but they can smell. I'm sure they can smell us because we humans have a certain smell or whatever. They know that, but that was amazing. Like when your adrenaline is pumping that much, you eventually, when you start relaxing and you don't hear the noise anymore and it's quiet, I can see you going to sleep. Absolutely. I would too, because you're so hyped up, you exhaust yourself. So I can see that happening. That was quite, oh my gosh, what an experience. Wow.
And like I said, it changed the direction of my life.
Yeah. So do you think it was them talking to each other, the gibberish as they say it is? Do you think that's what it was? In your opinion?
See, I didn't hear two talking to each other when I heard the gibberish.
Okay.
I only heard one.
Oh.
And So I don't know if there might have been two of them out there. I don't know. And people say a lot of times they're not alone. So maybe it was talking to another one when it was doing the gibberish. Because what's funny is that was the last thing I heard before they left.
Really?
Because it
Wow.
went from the grunt or the gorilla sound, the howler sound, and
Yeah.
the gibberish, and then they left. Maybe they're saying, hey, we're not going to be able to scare this guy out of the tent. No easy dinner tonight. Let's go.
Jerry, did you have a question?
Patrick, what made you decide to start your podcast?
My buddy Dirty, my producer, I work with them, and that's all I talk about every day is Bigfoot and all the people that I'm talking to about Bigfoot, because I'd gotten to the point where I was trying to be friends and talk to everybody that had anything to do with it. And he's just start a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know who the hell is going to want to listen to my dumb butt. He's like, yeah, but you're passionate about it. I think it would be cool. So he brought it up. I was scared to do it, but once I got a few episodes under my belt, I enjoy it now. I enjoy talking to people, getting their stories, and hearing about and bouncing around ideas, getting new ideas on how to research and what they are and what's going on with them. Kind of like the eye shine thing and infrasound. There's so many different ideas out there that I like just hashing it up with people.
Because I've heard people's opinions, thoughts. I have my own opinions and thoughts. I have not experienced one. I'm hoping maybe one day I will when I go visit the NCI guys in North Carolina. But what is your thought and opinion about them being have a connection to paranormal? Do you think? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I like the paranormal subject. Sorry, I'm going to have to grab a cord real quick, but I'll keep talking.
Okay.
Well, my thought is really that have buddy brain, I guess you could say, that give them ability to do things, and I think they can do mind speak. I think their mind is less clouded than ours. They're built to be out there or out here, and they've learned how to use parts of their brain that might not be necessarily paranormal when they make it happen. It seems like something paranormal because we can't explain it. That's what the paranormal, a lot of people say they have the abilities to do. I'm not so sure that they can open up portals. I'm not so sure that they can like automatically disappear. Have the ability with their minds to manipulate more around them than we can even imagine as humans.
So it's interesting because we've had discussions on the NCI show, and we have a gentleman, Brian, and he has had the mind speak. They've actually spoken to him, and I find that very cool. That would be awesome to experience. But I've also had people talk about, and I've also seen on documentaries, because I've been like diving deep into this, and people have noticed and said, and witnesses who have said that they'll see a Bigfoot, and then all of a sudden the Bigfoot will disappear and they'll see an orb, whether it's a green orb, a red orb, orange orb, and it just starts floating away. And then I've had people say that they come from a portal, because portals are around everywhere. I'm a huge paranormal person. I'm a witch, clairvoyant, but getting into this whole cryptid thing and all the different type of cryptids that are out there, this is the thing, is like some people say Bigfoot has always been here on Earth. They've been here for a long time, and it goes way, way back. Some people say, oh, they're coming from portals. My thoughts and opinions, you know what? we don't know enough to say for sure where they come from or if they have here. All I know is they are here. There's too many witnesses and too much evidence to show that they're here. And we can't say what their true abilities really are because we don't know enough. We're trying. We've got a lot of people out there who are trying, but I think it's cool to hear other people's thoughts and opinions. I just always try to stay very open-minded because we don't know everything yet about them. There's so much. There might be even more that we haven't even thought of that they have abilities. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I find it so cool to hear other people's thoughts and just it's amazing what they possibly could even do even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's another thing. I like to keep my mind open too. I am not one that's going to tell anybody that, no, that's not what happened. You know? Because I had enough people tell me, oh, you heard a bobcat, you heard a bear, you heard a fox. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. So I'm not going to. Do I think sometimes people make mistakes? Yeah, but you know what? They still experience something. And if they think a Bigfoot disappeared in front of them, probably did, but there might be a scientific explanation for it if you just look into different possibilities.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say that didn't happen to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jerry?
Yeah, I learned several years back to open my mind up more because of the things that we're learning about this association between the Orbs and Bigfoot, especially with the series Skinwalker, The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. Started reading the books and I'm thinking, gosh, I've been way too close-minded. I'm gonna have to really open up my mind to a lot more things that I previously wouldn't have considered. And now I'm not going to call anybody a liar or say they were mistaken. I'm like Patrick. I'm going to listen to their story and try to learn from what they are telling me.
Yeah. And I'm only one about the orb thing, but but then it dawned on me, I've actually seen an orb. Like the same place I had my experience.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, I didn't think, oh, that's an orb. Because at that point in time, I hadn't heard about orbs yet.
Right.
But I was in the woods.
Yeah.
It was nighttime again. It was a part of me was wanting to face my fear and get back out there. And I didn't want to be scared to go into the woods at night. So I did one night and I look up and I see a ball of light and it's not casting light on anything else. It was about the size of a baseball or softball. And it's like with me, like over my head. And I'm like, what the hell is that? You know? At first I was like, man, is that a drone? But it's not making any sound.
Yeah.
And so I take off through the woods and it follows me. And it stops when I stop. Then I'm starting to panic a little bit. And I'm like trying to lose this thing.
Yeah.
And it's staying like right above the line. It eventually left me alone. But I think it was once I got back to the main road, I looked, it was finally gone. And I just put that in a box of, didn't really think anything of it. And then I was hearing people talk about orbs and this and that. And when they're explaining them, then it just hit me. I'm like, wait a minute. That's probably what I saw that night.
Yeah.
So I've only seen one, but it also scared the crap out of me. I'm in the wrong business.
So when you've had guests on, what's one story that you've heard or guests or people that you've talked to? Let's put it that we'll just leave it open like that. What's the most eye-opening story that made you go, holy, oh my God. Like I'm trying to be careful on my words, but that made your eyes pop open and your mouth drop open because, you're hearing a story and you're just like, what the heck?
Yeah. So the one that really blew me away as my favorite was from Ryan Tremblay was telling me about. He was in his most unlikely place, too, somewhere in Arizona. He was, if I remember correctly, he was like house sitting, and he was out in the backyard, and he said he looked up on this hill, and he said it was on all fours. He didn't know exactly what it was. He called it like Bigfoot type. But to me, it almost sounds like a dogman type. But I'll continue with what he said. He said it come running at him down the hill on all fours, got about, I forget the distance, but not that far from him, and then stands up on two legs. And the craziest thing about this is he said it had the head of a hyena. And he said, looked at him and cocked its head sideways, and its ears had pointy ears like a dog, or I guess a hyena. And kind of, he said it looked at him like curiously, like a dog would look when it's like, what is that? Or what's that sound?
Right.
And he said he was just frozen. And he stared at it. It stared at him. He said it eventually just dropped back down on all fours and went back and up over the hill and was gone. And I'm like, dude, I'd have been cleaning my shorts after that.
Wow. That one, yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds more like a dogman or a werewolf. Not a
Yeah. But that was immediately what I thought.
because yeah,
That's but I'm like, dude, that sounds like a dog man, not a
yeah.
Bigfoot.
No. I've never heard of a
But then
Bigfoot
the whole
having
hyena had
pointy
thing that
ears.
yeah,
Yeah, you said it's a hyena, kind of. He said hyena looking.
he said it looked like a hyena face. The face and the head looked like a hyena.
I wonder maybe
Oh, I
a
got another good one.
skinwalker.
He didn't
No.
think Walker. He is very knowledgeable in Native
Yeah.
American lore.
Yeah.
He actually is writing books. He's written some books on it.
Yeah.
But that's not what he thought it was before. I
Okay.
would think that's a good possibility. And I got another quick one for you.
Yeah.
This one also blew my mind. This lady was in Florida, and it was an Indian burial ground that she used to go to all the time. And she said one day she was there and she heard something crashing, not crashing, but moving through the woods.
Yeah.
And she said she looked up and she sees a deer with a human head.
Wait, what?
And I'm like, what? Yes. And I'm like the whole head was human. And she said, no, it looked like a deer, but it just the face was human. And I'm like, just like you and me, human? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, wow. And that instance made me think of a skinwalk because it sounded
yeah.
like something that was in between.
Yeah.
But she said it scared the crap out of her and she took off. And I don't blame her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think
Jerry, do you have any questions?
Mayor fuel right there.
Jerry,
Yeah.
did you have any?
What of all the cryptids, Patrick, which one would you like to see first?
Oh, definitely Bigfoot. Like I said, I haven't actually laid my eyes on one yet, but definitely top my list would be Bigfoot, honestly, because I think it would be the least likely to actually kill me. And the least likely to kill me. That's top my list. I don't want to die after I see one. So is it dog man? If I could see a dog man on the other side of bulletproof glass, yeah, sure. But if it has to be face to face in person, nothing between us, I'm gonna have to go Bigfoot.
I have to ask you this also because I ask everybody this because it's something that had a big impact on me and so many other people in the field. But have you seen The Legend of Boggy Creek?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Love that movie.
I figured. I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
if you haven't seen The Legend of Boggy Creek, that I preach to you the gospel of Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah, The Legend of Boggy Creek, man. You gotta, if you're into Bigfoot, you gotta watch that movie.
Yes.
Then I've been a bad girl because I still need to watch it. I'm in trouble.
Oh,
Have you had any?
Lewis?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. I have so many that I've been watching, and it is on the list. It's just I need to watch it still. Have you had any paranormal experiences at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, paranormal. I've had so many I can't even
Gotcha.
count. My sisters
Yeah.
are kind of like amateur bow hunters, and they'll call me like sensitive. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I do know I went to Stanley Hotel. This was the best one. I went to the Stanley Hotel and I rented one of their haunted rooms. Not really expecting anything. But that night when I went to sleep, the first thing that happened was, I felt a hand on my foot. I'm in bed and it woke me up. And obviously I was there with the same girl. It was just about the same time the Bigfoot thing happened. But we went out to Stanley Hotel in Colorado
Yeah.
where The Shining was filmed. And I felt the hand on my foot. And I said, I woke up and I rolled over and I looked at her. And I said, did you just grab my leg? And she's sitting up in bed with the light on and like looking at me like, and she's like, no, what's wrong with you? And she's, a blue light just appeared over the top of you, got to the size of about a volleyball, and then went back down and nothing and disappeared. And she said, then you woke up. And I'm like, that's weird. And I didn't think much of it. So I went to sleep. And I'm sleeping. And I don't know what night it was, but I feel a hand grab my shoulder and shake.
Oh,
And
wow.
it wakes me up. I'm like, what? I think it's her. And I'm like, what? I feel it grab me again, shake me. I'm like, what? Does it a third time. And I'm like, ugh. So I'm like, I roll over. I'm like, what? And she's sound asleep on the other side of the king bed, like 3-4 feet away from me. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So then the next morning we get up, and this is the freakiest.
Yeah.
We get up and I have app. And of course, we're in Colorado and way up in the mountains. So I have my inhaler with me, and I kept it on the nightstand all night. So we get up, we're getting ready to leave, we're packing, and I can't find it. I'm looking inside the pillowcases, flipping the bed. I'm like, where the hell's my inhaler? Where is it? And I'm starting to get worried. I'm like, I can't find it. So she's like, checkout's about ready to happen. So I'm going to take a shower. I'm like, okay. She takes a shower. I'm on one side, and this is a real small room because it's in the old part of the hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm on one side of the bed, and I'm looking at the suitcase and everything in it, still trying to figure out what happened to my inhaler. She comes out of the bathroom, walked around to the other side of the bed, and as soon as she gets to the other side of the bed, we hear something hit the floor. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I look over, and the doorway she just walked out of,
Yeah.
my inhaler laying right there on the floor.
What? They're playing with you.
Yeah. She even looked at me, and she could, when it hit the floor, she goes, did you hear that? And I'm like, what was that? And I looked down, and I'm like, it's my inhaler. She swore up and down that I paid the people at the hotel to do this crap.
Oh my
Well,
God. That's
and
too
so the way
funny.
my lady at the prior show her something. I didn't mean that to happen.
That's awesome. We are at that time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. But before we close out this episode, sometimes I like to close out the episode with some quotes, or sometimes I'll do a like different thing. I try to do things differently each time I try. But I did find some quotes that I really liked. So one is, legends endure because the truth lingers just beyond the veil. Jerry, did you want to?
I did want to.
Okay.
Just the unknown is to embrace the thrill of possibility.
And then this one I really like. In every shadowed forest is a whispered tell. The extraordinary awaits.
I
Big-
love it. That's awesome.
Bigfoot is not just a
I'm
creature.
sorry, I don't.
What?
Go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, I don't have one.
Bigfoot, not just a creature. He's a story we all keep writing.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's really a good one.
Good one.
A true explorer never fears the answer. They fear never asking the question. That one, I liked that one. Because I love asking questions. I ask questions galore. Do you have one more, Jerry?
Sure. Cryptids remind us that nature still holds secrets if we dare to listen.
And we definitely want to listen, don't we? Because I know I do. I want to learn as much as I can.
No offense.
What's that? What'd you say?
I think the last one was my favorite. No offense.
No, it's okay. No offense at all. Patrick, if my listeners want to find you, how can they find you?
Just tell them to go to YouTube and look up the Crypted Quest Podcast. You have to use all 4 words because unfortunately there's so many shows out there. I had to use all 4 to do it. But if you look Crypted Quest Podcast, you can view all the stuff we have up. And we got some pretty cool stories on there. Last one I just did, I had lady was actually abducted by aliens, and she talks about it. And I'm telling you, she wasn't lying. I could tell.
Really?
She was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2-part.
You can tell when someone is really telling you the truth. You can feel it, you sense it, and yeah, it's hard when people can lie. He's like I can read layers, but you can tell when someone is just like when I tell my stories. When I say I see something and it's clear as day, because I see a lot of crazy stuff. I see evil stuff. I see good stuff. And I'm telling you, some of this stuff, I don't know why I see it, but I see it. And I'm like, I saw it. I'm not crazy. I promise. I've been to the doctor and I'm not insane. So anyway, Jerry, if anybody wants to find you, how can they find you?
You can find me on TikTok, J.R.Millwood. On YouTube under Rebels Dark Tales of Appalachia.
Yep. And just to remind everyone out there, Coven of Curiosities is a judgment-free zone. When joining the Coven of Curiosities, your stories and experiences will be heard because they do matter and are valued. Please rate, follow, and share, for it's time to join the Coven and unveil the mysteries of the unknown. And if you would like to be a guest, please feel free to reach out to me, your little host, Cyndi, a.k.a. Giggles. You can email me at covenofcuriositypod@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, coven_of_curiosity_podcast_SS. And that's the same with my threads. I'm on Facebook of Coven of Curiosity Podcast, and TikTok is the same, Coven of Curiosity Podcast. So remember, everyone, embrace the Coven, be curious, and explore the eerie while discovering the dark world with little Cyndi.
Okay. Okay.